So it was really hard to make decisions. So now you're trying to, and we make how many decisions a day as an entrepreneur, right?
So,
and
thousands.
Thousands. And I'm a quick decision maker. And so I realized it when I couldn't plan a vacation. This is when I really realized I actually didn't have the mental capacity to plan a vacation.
Welcome to the Hope and Hairspray podcast. I'm Rhodey Kate.
And I'm Kelly Osborn. Today, we will lead you on a journey of self-development and professional growth. You will be inspired to be the best version of who you were meant to be.
Let's jump in.
Welcome to the By Design podcast, where we interview female entrepreneurs and get their true confessions, stories of fear, stories of failure, but most importantly, stories of fortitude. And today we have the honor of having Julia Kepler. She took her first step into the entrepreneurial journey in 1994. Then in 2017, began opening boutiques here in Midland, Michigan, Serendipity Road, Joyful Tantrum, and Recess, along with a lot of other things that you do, which connect us so much in the serial entrepreneurial world, along with an online store as well called shopwithmoxie.com. So Julia, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. So Julia, truth be told, we have been friends for a long time.
Very long time. I was figuring
You have
it
a
out.
date, right?
I was pregnant with my last child, and he's turning 19 this year. So that's how long, because we had a kitchen renovation.
Right.
And I read in the newspaper that some person with a menu, something or another, was like having freezer meals. And I was like, I'm so tired of cooking in a crock pot. And so that's how we met.
I love that. I love that our paths crossed on an entrepreneurial way because it's about filling needs, right? So tell me what sparked your interest. Like, I might have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. What was the first spark?
So I was going to college like most people do after high school and realized it really wasn't for me, but I did need to be able to make money. And so I opened a business. So in 1994, I opened my first business. And a lot of people don't know that about me.
I don't know that about you.
Didn't know that about me. I ran that business for 10 years until I was pregnant with my third child. And due to some pregnancy things, I needed to stop. So, so I've always been kind of independent and entrepreneurial minded.
All right. What did you do? What did you do in that first business?
I ran a daycare.
No way.
So toy stores will make a little more sense for me now, right? Now that I say that out loud to people. So that's what I did. I love children. And so I just read and dove in and built a business.
Wow. So that makes so much sense. I mean, what a great first step, because it accommodates you being a mom too.
Right.
So in-home daycare, right?
Yep, in-home daycare. So we added on to our house. We did a lot of things to make sure that we could do that. So really like that. But with Serendipity Road, that's a little bit different journey. So all of a sudden I was at home because I did really focus on being a mom. And so for 8 years, I don't want to say just a stay-at-home mom because it's a job. And so, but I was home. And then when they all went to school, I was a little lost.
For sure.
And so, but my sister had gotten sick. So I kind of had stayed busy helping her. And then my mom got sick, so I was helping her. And, but then, what am I doing for myself? Because it can be a little, when you're a caretaker, it can be a titch overwhelming. So you're a caretaker and you have young children. And so I helped open the Shelter House resale shop. So I just decided, serve. You love to serve. So in the year 2000, I led a group of people to do 2,000 hours of community service in the year 2000. And so I thought, you found a lot of joy there. Go serve. So I helped open the Shelter House resale shop.
I did not know that either.
Kelly's going to learn a lot
I
about
know,
me today.
I'm super excited. I'm like being a listener right now.
And then I helped open the Bridge, which is so I helped with that. So the Bridge is like a at cost grocery store, primarily focused on Dallas population.
So incredible.
So those are the two things I did, but I was asked to research another business. And this is kind of how Serendipity Road came about. In the research of that business, the last day that we were researching it, we sat in the parking lot in Lansing. And I just said, this is not going to work in Midland. And so I didn't want to say what the business was. So
It's okay.
and it's not going to work in Midland. And two, if I'm going to be a part of it, I really don't want to be. Right.
Oh.
So to be brave enough to say, and I know with my personality, this is not something that's going to bring me any sort of fulfillment. It's actually going to cause some stress. So I'm like, so no, thank you.
Yeah. So a couple of things you brought up that are super important is I'm not sure it's a good fit for me.
Yes.
We always say in coaching situations, a no is a yes to something else. Right. So you were brave enough to say, that's not a good fit for me. But the other thing that you said that's super important for our listeners to hear is that you didn't know if you loved it.
Right. I knew I didn't love it.
Right. If you don't love it,
you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. And then you don't like it. Right.
Right.
Those are two big things.
And you bring that home. Right. So if you aren't loving what you're doing, you bring that home.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. Danger.
It's a big danger, right? So I knew to walk away, but I have a dear, sweet husband, and he challenged me. He's like, okay, if that won't work, what will work? And so on the drive back from Lansing, it was very clear exactly what would work in Midland. And I wrote, including PowerPoint, the entire business plan for Serendipity Road in an hour and 20 minutes.
That sounds like something a music artist would say. I just wrote the song, literally right there on a napkin.
Yeah.
And but PowerPoint, that's pretty awesome. That you had that.
I had my tablet with me, so I was able to whip that out.
Wow.
So
you said no to the other opportunity.
I did.
Which then opened the floodgates for Serendipity Road.
Right. Because I really felt like I had a lot of small business friends that were small batch makers that were struggling. And I saw that. And I knew if I could open a business that could help small businesses, then that would be the thing. So that's what Serendipity Road is. It's a small business to support small business in the form of a gift boutique.
I love that. Yeah. That's fantastic. So you work a lot with small business owners.
Yeah.
That's literally what you do. But let's back up to when you were going to open the other business that you were researching. Did you have some fears rise up in you? You said you didn't like it, you couldn't love it. But did that bring about some fears? Oh gosh, if I do this, I'm not sure that, what fears were going through your head? What were you afraid of?
I think the specific business, I was actually worried for my own mental health. Ooh. That I was so you're going to learn a little bit about me is I like things neat and tidy. If things are not neat and tidy, I really struggle with it. So, and I like things to look a certain way. And so if I didn't have control of that, of what I was walking into wasn't going to look aesthetically pleasing, I would struggle every day.
I'm glad you know that about yourself.
So, and I did know it. So it was actually that very thing, the fear of oh, you actually could put your own sanity in jeopardy of not having like things looking a certain way.
So that's super important.
In a space that I'm going to be in every day, right?
Right. That's super important. I like order and structure as well in my day. Like, make sure the house is clean before I go to work, or like things like that need to be in order.
Right.
Then then my brain can function. But what you had said about your sanity, that's a piece that I think is super important before you do any of this journey is self-awareness.
Right.
Right. You need to know the truth about what you bring to the table, what you don't bring to the table.
Yeah, that's
right. That's super important as well. So we talk about circles a lot. Who's in your circle? So you know a lot about yourself, a lot of truth about yourself. And I love that about you. But you also know what you don't bring to the table. So who's in your circle, or not necessarily names of people, but like, what do you count on from people in your circle?
Yeah. So I have, I can't be in the stores all the time, right?
No.
Because I'm the primary buyer. That no one else does. I buy for all the stores. So that I don't give away. But I can't do all of social media. I have the capacity and ability to do it. I just don't have necessarily the time to do it, right? So that circle helps with finances, spreadsheets. Please don't make me. Ever,
please.
Like, don't. I love good data, but like I want a 1-page printout with like a graph or something. Or I can just look at it and go, oh, got it.
Love that.
We're doing great. So
good.
yeah. Oh, I'm
Quick
staying on
glance,
budget.
right?
That's great. So, that I don't want to do. I don't want to run payroll, but I love to write the schedule. Like, right? So it's weird that that's something that I like to do.
Not weird at all. Know what you do and what fills you up.
Right. That's one of the things. I like to make flyers for the store because it's creative, but sometimes I don't have time for it. So I do have staff and employees. I don't like to pay invoices, so I have staff that pay invoices, right? Paperworky stuff, keeping things organized. Like, even though I love things super organized, I work with a whole staff and not everyone's that way. So I have people that make sure that everything kind of stays happy for me there, which is good. And they all work on it. So, which teaches new habits. So that's great. So yeah. So I used to have a circle.
So you have your circle inside the store, but what about outside the store? Like, who do you rely on for wisdom, for encouragement, for advice? Like, who do you go to? What type of character qualities are you looking for in those people outside of the store?
Outside of the store. Even though David is part of inside of the store, I do rely on him a lot. He has a lot of wisdom, right? When it comes to running groups of people. That's what he went to school for. So he knows a lot more. He has a lot more experience too, because that was his job before. Kelly is very good at wisdom. And so I do go to her, but we have our women's executive roundtable, which is
priceless.
So like Kelly's saying, it is priceless to be able to have those women, and then the friendships that you have within, with those people, even outside of that roundtable meeting, and the lunches are important, so then you have different friends that you just go to for very different things. I had a breakfast this morning with just a friend. We're completely in different stages of life from each other, but so much symbiotic relationship there of how I can listen and go, oh, I can be a better parent. And then they're asking for advice and I'm like, oh, right. So, and then you're just having these relationships where you can be filled up, right?
For sure.
And it takes a lot of different people, because I think we often think, oh, my spouse is going to meet these 7 criteria of the things that I need in a person. Well, that's just craziness. You need like 7 different people to fill those needs.
Or double that, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Not that you need a huge circle.
No.
But when you are forming your circles, just to know that you need one, I think females, unfortunately, can get in a comparison lane, right? Where oh my gosh, they're doing so good. They're probably doing it all. And they think they just have to do it all.
Right.
When that is the quickest area to fail.
Right.
You're just going to burn out.
Yes.
Right. You can't do it all. So when you surround yourself with wise counsel, like, who do I need on my team? It's a truth, self-awareness, digging deep.
Right.
What am I good at? Like spreadsheets? Yep. Nope. Don't want anything to do with them, but I want the data.
Right.
Right. Find somebody else to do that.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I love how you do that with your team. What are you good at? What are you good at? What are you good at?
Right.
We have such a myth in our culture that we need to be well-rounded. Well, actually, if you're well-rounded, you're not going to be great at anything.
Right.
So, but your team needs to be well-rounded.
Right.
Right. And knowing who's on your team internally
Right.
and externally.
Yes.
Right. And then there's accountants and professional
People.
your
Yeah,
professional
you have to have
team.
lots of-
So what teams do you think you rely on most, or are they even?
outside of
Like personal, professional, or internal?
I rely on the
like,
most?
Who do you think they're your go-tos?
That's a good question. I think depends on what area you're kind of targeting, but like before I opened Serendipity Road, I worked in marketing and events. What I learned for a small business, and what I learned from that is businesses have a blind spot to their own marketing, like a big, huge blind spot. Kelly hangs her head.
I do.
To-
I'm there. I'm
their
there
own-
right now.
To their own marketing. And so the very first person I hired was a marketing person that looks over my marketing for the year and gives me all the critiquing that is needed, right? And that's what I hire them for. Not to like go, you're doing a great job, Julia. No, I don't want to hear I'm doing a great job. You like be honest with me.
Absolutely.
Like that's what I hired you for. Outside accountant to go over your books, because if that is not in order, like I don't want to have a conversation with the IRS, I guess is what I'm trying.
Good point. Good
say.
point. Get somebody. Accounting is not finance. Those
No.
are 2 different fields.
They're
It's not budgeting.
Right. Like
It's not cost of
great
goods,
that you're
right.
putting into QuickBooks and all of that stuff, but you need to have someone else come in and make sure all of that stuff is in order. So like that's probably my number one, just because if you don't have that in order, you're going to end up in a big mess later on.
Yeah.
Like it will catch up to you. Eventually it's caught up to you.
It will. It will definitely. You have to have that in order. You have to have your books in order.
Yeah. So I would say that's my very number one.
Is have a good relationship with a good accountant and ask, right? Go to your circle.
Right.
Who do you use? Who do you use? Who do
Right.
you use? If you don't know this information, and some people use a bookkeeper to keep the costs down, entering receipts
Yep.
and things like that, because that can get overwhelming, invoicing and receipts and accounts payable, receivable.
Yeah.
But that can be done with a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Versus,
so that's what we have. So we do
Okay.
have like a like a small business bookkeeper, and then every year we use a bigger firm to go over because our taxes are very complex and complicated for other reasons other than Serendipity Road. And so like it really has to be in order.
100%. 100%. Get connected with several circles, but your professional circle, that accountant, incredibly important.
I think a financial advisor, really important too. As a small business owner, you you don't have a big corporation. You're not putting it into a 401k. You're not, right? There's some things. And so you want to make sure that you're like saving the money that you need to save so that you can retire, unless your entire plan is to work until you say goodbye permanently.
Right. Which is a plan for some people.
It is a plan for some people.
Yeah.
And if that's you,
okay.
If not, you probably really should work with a financial advisor so that you can at least get on a path and know where you're at. Because I think, if we're talking about being self-aware, being self-aware, I think, is one of the number one, right?
So important.
And then, from an outside circle standpoint that's non-business, it's like have the person that's willing to call you out on your nonsense.
That's great. That's a great way. No sugarcoating that. She may own a toy store or two.
I mean, right.
But yeah, absolutely. You don't want yes people. You want encouragers.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
Encouragers.
But sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees.
Right.
Right.
So you need to have someone that has your best interest. They're not bullying you or being harmful to you, but that they're just being really honest with you. And like seeking that out. Mm-hmm. Like if you have someone coming and going, that is not great about you. Yeah, that's not the person. It's the person that you trust to go to share the thing and say, okay, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing, right? So
definitely.
I think that like having that person, so that seems like a weird person to have, but really having a person that's willing to say that.
For sure.
Like that's a very brave thing, and it can be a little fear like inducing to go and say, okay, I need you to like
poke holes.
Right? Tell me
Right.
the truth, because you need someone sometimes, even if you're self-aware, like you still need to have someone tell you, right?
Well, the average person, the average human has 3.4 blind spots. So when you want a level of personal growth like never before, you want to ask people in your inner circle, give me my blind spots.
Right.
You've got to be ready for this though.
Right. I mean,
Right.
yeah, you have to be
This isn't
mentally
for the
prepared.
faint of heart.
No, it's not.
Right. But when you want to grow to the next level, and I think a lot of female entrepreneurs, maybe even Gen 2, where they're in, past 10 years, you get into ruts.
Right.
Right. Where you're thinking, or things are just smoothly. We're just sailing along. Things are going just normal, just okay. But if you're like, I feel like we're up against a wall. We're just not growing anymore. And sometimes that leader, us, we need to step back and say to our circle of people we trust, like you said, not a bully or anything like that, tell me where my blind spots are.
Right.
Because we all have them. We all have them. That is, I asked a question today, if I did a certain thing, and this person's like, yeah, you do it all the time. And I'm like, oh, really?
Right. You go,
Oh, man.
I was truly trying not to do that.
I was trying, and I'm like, okay, now I'm aware. Right. So you're going along, you want to be at that next phase, but you're thinking things are pretty good. Have you ever been in a space where you're coasting along and you just get clotheslined by something?
I think Kelly knows this. So I actually had a real bad patch with burnout, right? So we don't talk about that.
Oh, no. We're doing great.
We're doing great. Someone's like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. Oh, yeah, I didn't want to get out of bed for the last 3 days, but, right? So I think, I didn't expect it, and I didn't know the impact it was going to have on me, right? Like, because it just came, like, I can see it now, how it was creeping in incrementally.
Okay.
But it wasn't until I was kind of like, to a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really, and so it was like, I don't know how to explain it, my brain was shutting down. I was to a point of burnout where I couldn't actually think clearly. So it was really hard to make decisions. So now you're trying to, like, and we make how many decisions a day as an entrepreneur, right?
So,
and
thousands.
Thousands. And I'm a quick decision maker. And so I realized it when I couldn't plan a vacation. This is when I really realized I actually didn't have the mental capacity to plan a vacation.
One of the best things on the planet is to go on vacation. Right?
And I've been planning vacations since I was 16. Like when you had to go to AAA and get the books.
The triptych.
Yeah. You go to
Maps
AAA.
out the whole map, right? No GPS.
No GPS. But
wow.
Right?
You were hardcore, old school hardcore vacation planner.
Yeah. Like
and you couldn't do that.
I couldn't even think clearly enough to do that. Even though that was the very thing I knew I needed, I couldn't even provide that for myself. So
how hard was that? How scary was that time for you? That
was very scary. Probably like I actually probably had said on numerous occasions during that time, we just need to close the businesses. Because I literally couldn't make a decision. And I'm the buyer. I'm making decisions all the time, right? And so like I was not being a very good leader. So that right now we're getting into like, now I know I'm not being a good leader, right? So there's all these things. I'm not being a good leader of my team. I'm like all these things. I'm not showing up.
I'm striking out.
I'm not showing up how I want to, which makes it even worse. And so you're just like, how do I get out of this, right? Like, so.
Not you're circling the drain.
Right.
You're down.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
not on the ledge, you're off.
Right.
Right.
And so, and even like okay, because I didn't even know it was burnout. Right. So now I'm like, what is going on? And so I was like, is this burnout? Is this what burnout is? So and now I'm on Google.
Dr. Google.
Right. I know.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like on stage, like of 7 stages of burnout. I'm on like stage 5. Stage 7 is that you are put into a mental institution, by the way. And so I'm like, oh, what an eye opener for myself to be like, you have got to go on a vacation. So then it's like, quit overthinking this vacation situation. Like, pick a place. I don't care. Throw a dart at a map. And then that's where you're going. Find a hotel. Don't plan anything and just go there.
You just need to pick the place and get there.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Right? So
and?
Very good for me.
Good.
Very good. So
you recognize that though.
Right.
Right. You are like,
it was kind of the turning point.
I'm bad right now, but I need this.
Right.
So how did you make that last step? Right in between of I can't do this, but I need this. Like what got you across that bridge?
I think again, we've already talked about I'm super self-aware. So like I knew something was wrong. So I think going on vacation, super helpful. How did I get to that point? Like I literally was like, you need to go on a vacation, or the reality is you are going to close the store. That's the reality.
So that motivated you.
Like if you do not go on vacation, the outcome is the stores will be closed. That's what will happen. You will go to the end of the year making 0 decisions except for that we're closing. That's what's going to happen. So you might want to.
Did you call in anybody? Who did you rely on? Because sometimes we need to tap into somebody else's strength.
Oh no, I'm a little too independent for that. Which is probably
I was just wondering.
I know. You knew the answer though, because we talked about this. No one. And that is also why you do need to have all the people, right? All the people that you can just come to be super honest with what's going on. And not that, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's good. It's not always that way.
Right.
You can positive psychology yourself right into a straitjacket is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So, but just deciding, yes, you need to go on a vacation. You need to, reevaluate kind of what you're doing and why. like what got you to this point.
Sure. You had
And
talked
it was not getting, so this is really what started the whole, like at least I can look back and go, what started the whole thing is I didn't put the right people and the right seat on the bus for a project that caused me so much, because it's not in my strength at all. Like it was causing me so much daily stress, day after day, plus all the other stuff. And this was like a bigger project that it just,
that was the last
so
straw,
like get
huh?
the right people on the right seat of the bus.
So very important.
Right.
When you are building an organization, when you're in that kind of after startup phase, it's nose to the grindstone, right? Like drop a shoulder. You're just getting through that first year or two. But when you can realize that you don't have all the skills it takes, but you've got to then figure out who does.
Right.
But then we also have to get out of our own way.
Right.
Right. Because when we don't do that, then we're starting our own fire, right? Like we're burning our own bridge. We are in our own way if we don't include people. You've got that, and it's short-sighted, right? And it's a lose-lose. It's a lose for both sides of it. Probably lose, professional, personal, and yourself.
Right.
So I love your truth and your candor about this is the wall I hit, and this is what got me there.
Right.
Right. So we're all about inspiring entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, because they are going to face fears.
Right.
They are going to fail. Right. But
Certainly.
it's fortitude. Like, what should female entrepreneurs know about fortitude?
Like at the beginning, right? It's like nose to the grindstone. When I hit that like wall, it was that very same, the why, right? What is your why? Why are you doing this? Like going back to those moments when you knew you were inspired, that you knew that this was like, if you're a religious person, this is the thing that the Lord like put on your heart to do. He's not setting you up to fail, right?
Never.
So like trusting that is the thing, like, so just always going back to those moments when you knew it was the exact right thing, where you had peace. That's kind of where I'm always going back to, like, no, this might be hard right now, but this is the very thing the Lord asked, like,
It's a big
put
why.
on your heart to do, and you're like making a positive impact, right? In the way that he's asking you to.
Absolutely.
So I think the fortitude is really the why, and then going back to those like really positive moments that you had where you knew this was the thing that you felt you should do.
For sure. Julia, one of the things that you do over and over and over that inspires me constantly is that I don't even think you do it so naturally that it's just innate. It just comes out of you. Is you are always looking to serve. You are such a servant leader. You have such a big view for the betterment of our community, but you can easily start with an individual. I don't know how you do it. It's truly your superpower, how you can focus in on an individual and have them be the kind kid in their school.
Right.
Yet you can help start nonprofits that you're on so many boards and involved in so many ways to impact your community at large. You're just really, really good at that. And somebody following you on social media might be like, wow, like how could I ever do all of that? And what I love about your story is just do one thing. Right. Just keep taking the steps that are revealed to you and that are on your heart.
Right. I think a lot of people have asked, like, oh, how do you do everything that you do? And like, it's perspective. If someone like, oh, could you do this, whatever, And like, oh, well, what's the time commitment? Like, because you want to be honest with yourself, right? We've already said we need to be honest. Oh, it's 1 hour every other month. Oh, so in 24 hours a day, you're not even asking for not even 10% of a day, right? So you really start keeping some, little data sheet, right, in perspective. Like, oh, yeah, I can, like, scoop out that amount of time to give. Or like, oh, we meet 3 times a year for 3 hours. Oh, I can do that. Or, oh, we meet 3 times a year for 1 hour. Oh.
Yeah, that's such
right?
a good point is we all have the same currency.
Right.
And it's time. How do we want to spend our time? And so those are great questions to ask. Tell me more. Like, what's the commitment look like? And then your filter of what's close to my heart.
Right.
So kind of putting those two together. What's the time commitment? What's close to my heart?
Right.
Because I don't believe we're just called to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
Right. We're called to use our talents and gifts to serve others. And you do that so very well. But your story of being careful, being cautious, like sometimes, I mean, you decided to open a store and opened it in 6 days?
8 days. Yeah.
8 days. Yeah, that was, and you made it through. So you did it. You did it very, 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 very well. But that's fine to get through it in 8 days. But when you look at the long game, right, that's not sustainable.
No.
Right. And knowing that about yourself.
I slept on the floor of the store one day.
Yeah.
Like I literally grabbed a, blanket out of the car and I just, underneath a display, I just went to sleep.
And
right.
And it's fine. That's 8 days. Like we're all going to have stretches where we just have to dig in and get it done. But it's when you're looking at the full picture of things. Right. Where's my time going? How can I spend it? What's my why?
Right.
So if we have one last big bit of advice that you would charge our entrepreneurs with, what is kind of your mantra? Like, what inspires you?
What inspires me? I think I always Kelly knows, I'll be like, oh, I felt like I should do, right? And so I think we don't listen to that as much as we should. That oh, I felt I should walk to a friend's house and bring them cookies. Or, oh, I felt like I should call this person. Or, oh, I felt like, now entrepreneurs, we get much, especially if we are have a lot of ideas. If we're a high ideation person. And Kelly's laughing because that is my number one thingy.
Lots of ideas, which are usually 100% spot on.
But I could do all those ideas.
All of them.
I would be dead. But it's that little voice, right? Because I do get a lot of ideas, but it's the ones that I'm propelled by.
Something deeper
that I act on. Because I do have a lot of ideas.
So don't ignore them.
But don't ignore
them.
Especially if it comes a couple of times or more.
Pay attention.
Pay a lot of attention because I can remember in January of 2019, oh, you need to open a toy store. No, I'm just running this store. I'm good. No, you need to open a toy store. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to compete with toys. School days, absolutely not. Because I really feel like I want to support other community businesses as best I can. I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. And then school days closed 1 month. I mean, so I had gotten that feeling 1 month later, they announced they were closing. So then I started looking, I know.
Okay.
I know, right? I was like, oh, that's really weird that I had that feeling.
Weird, huh?
And then I know. So then I tried to look for a space for toy store in downtown. So all successful downtowns have a toy store, if you look at that.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And so I really felt like this could help build a community. I didn't quite understand, but I'm like, okay. But then I just couldn't find a place, and I just kind of set it aside. We had some things happening with Serendipity Road. Needed to focus on that, so I did. And I can remember in September. So this is like some time went by, or maybe like in late August, we found out that our neighbor wanted out of the lease. So isn't it so interesting how when you get these feelings, kind of the Lord clears away. So we ended up, but I really had spent a lot of the summer at Serendipity Road, and I needed a vacation with my kids. So we're going right back to this vacation situation, but it was not bad like before. And I planned this vacation. A hurricane was coming to where we were going on vacation. I'm packing the kids. They don't even know we're going on vacation. And I do remember saying, I don't even know why. Like, I feel like we should open a toy store. And then I said it again, like even more angsty as I'm folding clothes, putting them into a suitcase. And I got really silent. And my husband looked at me, David, and he said, so tell me you don't know why you're supposed to open a toy store again? And right in that moment, I had the exact why, right? Like why I was being prompted to.
So pay attention to those.
Right. I think that's like the number one thing as an entrepreneur is like pay attention to your gut.
For sure.
Right.
Dreams have expiration dates.
They do.
Right. So grab a hold of those. Right. You don't know what the chapter, when you just take a step in the woods and see what presents itself. We think we have to have the whole thing figured out when really your business is going to be constantly changing anyway. So Julia, I just want to thank you so much for being so transparent and so genuine and so generous with your story, because your impact, it's going to be felt for years to come. So if one of our listeners wants to get a hold of you, like how do they find you? Are you on socials?
Yep. So we're on social media since we have 3 businesses. So we're at Serendipity Road on Instagram and Facebook.
So good.
Same thing, Joyful Tantrum, and then Recess too on Joyful Tantrum's Recess is on all socials. And if you want to email me, like get a hold of me directly, you can email me at shop@serendipityroad.net.
Oh, that you would not be amiss to have a conversation with this lady.
Thanks.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.